Hello, people. Today I'm here with Senator Stephen Rhoads with. I'm sorry, which district are you in again? I'm sorry. I should know this. I should know this, but I don't. What was the? I'm sorry. What did you say?
It's the 5th Senate District.
Fifth Senate District. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. Also, sorry about my camera. It's not on at the moment because I'm not using. I do not use my. I'm not using my camera. My work one. I'm using my gaming PC because my work computer is not working. Anyway.
I completely understand. Not a problem, man.
Okay, so I have a bunch of questions for you. Hopefully hopefully the questions aren't gonna put you in a bad spot. Hopefully.
Hope not. We'll see.
Okay, so the first question. You often speak about fiscal responsibility. Can you name a specific government program that you believe should lose funding, even if it's popular locally?
Well, I think part of the issue is that spending at the state level has gone up by about $70 billion just over the course of the last 7 years. Since Democrats have taken unilateral control of the state government, they actually have majorities in the state Senate, state Assembly, and obviously they have the governor's mansion. That makes it more expensive for each of us to be able to stay here. They committed just last year alone over $1 billion in funding for people who are in the country illegally. For example, that would be a wonderful place to start, simply by cooperating with federal law enforcement in removing those people who do not have legal status in the country, so that state taxpayers would not have to pay for that, and there would be more dollars to use on our own residents.
Ah, okie dokie. Have you ever voted for a bill that went against your party line and donor interests, and why? If so, why?
Well, my responsibility is not to a political party. My responsibility is to the constituents that I represent. And so, we pass bipartisan legislation on a regular basis on a host of other issues. I myself, as a member of the minority, have either sponsored or co-sponsored with Democrats over 120 bills that passed the Senate this year alone. So, reaching across the aisle and trying to accomplish things for the benefit of our residents is something that I do on a regular basis, and that's part of my job. I'm not there to. I'm not up in the state Senate to make friends. I'm up in the state Senate to try and make a difference. And I will work with whomever I need to work with, both within my own party and with the other party, to try and accomplish positive things for the residents of our district.
Ah,
But again, I represent Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. So I'm happy to work with anyone to try and do my best to accomplish things on their behalf.
what's one decision you regret making since taking office, and what did you learn from it?
That's a great question, man. I would think that the one thing I probably regret the most is when I first got to the Senate. I came from the Nassau County Legislature. So in the county legislature, the way government operated was very different from the way it operates up in the state legislature. And it took a pretty steep learning curve, especially since when you first get into, when legislative session starts in January, within the first 2 weeks, we're already dealing with state budget issues. And coming into office, not exactly knowing, because I was new, how the state budget process worked, we were a little bit behind the 8 ball in how, in hearings that were conducted, in how to influence the process. So if there was one regret, it would have been that very first year, back in 2023, having a better working knowledge of the state budget process before actually being involved in it. Now that I understand it, and now obviously I'm familiar with how the budget gets created, we don't have that issue. But my biggest regret was not being more familiar with how the budget process worked that very first session.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Okay, my next question that I have is...
I kind of anticipated, so when I came to the county legislature, we sort of, they taught us everything. You had almost like a class where you'd be familiarized with the process. That really didn't happen in the state senate. So a lot of the stuff we had to learn on our own.
Oh, that's very interesting. I actually have another question.
No freshman orientation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree. My next question is, voters are increasingly cynical about politicians saying one thing locally and then they vote another way in Albany. How can you prove that's not you?
Oh, look, first off, if you go into nysenate.gov, you can look up not just mine, but you can look up every vote taken by every senator, both in committee and on individual bills that come to the floor of the Senate. So, it's not a question of proving it. It's all the information is there for anyone to look at. And I would encourage people to check out voting record on every piece of legislation, to satisfy themselves. We probably vote in a session, just on items that come to the full legislature, probably cast over the course of a session over 1,000 votes on pieces of legislation. So, and every one of those votes is recorded, and every one of those votes is available on the nysenate.gov website.
Oh wow. What would you like your legacy to be if you left office tomorrow?
Oh gosh, well I hope that doesn't happen. But I would like my legacy. If there was one thing to be remembered by, it would be that I'm faithful to my constituents. That I represent 340,000 people, 340,000 Long Islanders. And every day, I would hope that my legacy is what I try to accomplish. Every day, I'm fighting for their interests. Whether it's working on issues that are here in the community, whether it's fighting for things that we need and policies that have to be changed up in Albany. I just would hope that I would be remembered as being someone who worked on their behalf, was faithful to their interests, and worked tirelessly every day to do the best I could on their behalf.
Wow. A different question I have on a similar topic is, what is a belief that you've held strongly since when you first started your first term as a senator that you've since changed your mind about?
That I've since changed my mind about?
Yes. Something that you've switched opinions about, that you've come to realize that you don't like anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny because so back in high school, we had as many high schools do, we had a leadership skills club, and we participated in something called Convention 2. And Convention 2 was a model second constitutional convention where there would be delegates from all across the country, and we would go down to Washington D.C. and everyone had to propose an amendment that they wanted to make to the federal Constitution. And we would debate and discuss those amendments and vote, all the delegates from all the different states. And my amendment to the Constitution was to do away with the Electoral College. And now, obviously, I had the completely opposite position that I had back when I was a kid arguing for that amendment. Now to me, the the Electoral College allows smaller states to be part of the legislative process and be part of the selection of the next president. Without an Electoral College, you would simply go to the most populous states, and you would never, you would go to Texas, California, New York, Florida, Illinois, and states like Wyoming or New Mexico or Utah that have fewer electoral votes would never be part of the process, as every candidate would be playing simply to the most populous state. Through the Electoral College, every state has a voice, since it's not just the popular vote that determines who the next president is. So that's an example of sort of a reversal. The more that I've learned, from a position that I had previously. Hope that answers the question, Matt.
Yeah, actually, that's extremely funny that you say that, because I used to think the Electoral College was the greatest system of all time, and now I've switched opinions since then. Because I once saw this video, which was from an independent source, not Republican, not a Democrat source, and these people, and not people, but person said, he said, and I quote, do you want to know how you could win the popular, sorry, not popular, I mean, how you could win the election, a presidential election, with only 22% of the popular vote? First, let's assume only that that the states I'm about to mention only 50% vote for you. Then he went off to mention all, like, the smallest states, every single one of the smallest states. And then, going on since then, he said, you see, with all those electoral votes, by just getting just enough to get all the electoral votes, you would get the 270 electoral votes and only get the 22% of the popular vote. That's not democracy. That's indefensible. And I agreed with it.
I think one thing that they do have to take a look at, to be perfectly honest, is that there should be apportioned electoral votes. So in other words, if you did it by county as opposed to doing it for the entire state, New York is a winner-take-all state. If you were to break it down by county and assign the electoral votes either based on county or based on congressional district, that would actually make it a fairer system.
Yes, unfortunately, President Trump hasn't fixed that yet, but, because I've also been trying to reach out to him about a similar system and such as that.
Well, Matt, it's only been 9 months.
I mean, I mean, if in 9 months a new baby can be brought into this world, I'm sure President Trump, in all of his infinite power as the president, can easily fix a few problems. He has done a lot of good things, but there are a few things I disagree with. My next question. Yeah, sorry.
As I'm sure most people do. You can't make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
My next question for you, is, if a bill that would clearly benefit your district was introduced by a Democratic senator, but went against Republican leadership's agenda, would you still support it?
Absolutely.
Okay, and why?
I mean, again, it sort of goes back to one of my earlier answers. I'm not there to represent a party. I'm there to represent people. And, we have different, obviously we have different interests here on Long Island than they do in other areas of the state. Our economy is very different. The needs of our constituents are very different. The cost of living is completely different than in many other areas of the state. And so my job is to pay attention to what's best for the residents in my district, not necessarily what's best for the agenda of a particular political party. So, not only, as I mentioned, we've worked in a bipartisan fashion on over 120 bills that passed the Senate. Not all of them were supported by all of the leadership of my party. And one of the things that I love about our Republican conference is that we're given the flexibility to represent our constituents. Now, our conference takes very few block votes. And the ones that we do take a block vote on are because each of our members happens to agree with the position that the conference is taking. So it's not a it's not like you might hear about on television, or when watching MSNBC or Fox News. We actually have the flexibility to be able to vote our conscience, which I think is very important. Something that I do all the time.
Okay, that's okay. Well, thank you so much for that. My next question that I have for you is, what is your stance on banning or restricting books in public schools? And do you ever think that or believe that politicians should ever dictate classroom content?
Well, I mean, I think that there needs to be. I think there needs. Yeah, Chris, you gotta get going. Oh, okay. This will have to, Matt. This will have to be the last question, only because I've got a 7:45 stopover in Seaford.
Oh, understandable.
But, yeah, I apologize. No, I don't think these decisions should be made by politicians. I think that there should be. We have local school boards for a specific reason. Local school boards, in conjunction with parents, should be making determinations as to what materials are provided for kids. And I think there should be. I don't know that any book should necessarily. I don't know that any book should necessarily be banned, but I think that parents need to have input on what their kids are able to access.
Ah, well, thank you so much for spending your time answering these questions. I'm sure nobody wants to answer my questions because I can be very boring at times.
Not at all, man. That was great. You did a good job.
Thank you so much. Hopefully I will see you around. Thank you so much.
I hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
There you have it, folks. We've officially